So, okay, can someone tell me why we're not talking about dark energy? I'll tell you why. Because the overly literal elite don't want you knowing about it. They want to capture the quiet, unseen force out there somewhere or maybe nowhere in the universe. Just doing its thing, causing expansion, maybe. Very far from the truth that it is the universal consciousness that bleeds through us all. Was it not spelled out at the beginning of the Vinyan Bhairava when the goddess Bhairavi sat in the lap of Bhairava and asked his true nature, to which the god, whose name, by the way, means dark matter, replied not with any specific answer, but with 112 exercises, meditative exercises by which one may experience true reality, where one may become one with the dark matter. And was it also not true that in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjun, at the end of the last war, was shown by Krishna, the absolute final form of the god, which looked nothing like anything he'd seen before, but which to our eyes now we recognize as the perfect image of a black hole devouring matter. All these things, even string theory was presupposed in ancient days. And you may think, oh no, that's just our modern minds projecting what we know now onto the myths and legends of old cultures. But what if I told you they were one in the same? That the idea of black holes, of dark energy, of dark matter, of all these abstract ideas were very much present in ancient cultures, arriving by way of sages, by enlightened beings, by yogis, by Brahman, coming down from knowledge space. It is a birthright, this knowledge space, to all of us. We just fail to realize it. So, what's stopping us from trying? Now, friends, I would like to introduce our volunteer, our semi-willing volunteer, who's with us in the studio today. You don't need to say anything. I'm just introducing you. They are going to help us reach these higher dimensions. They are going to help us contact the dark energy surrounding us. Now, it goes without saying that God has always belonged to the far right side of the brain. Yes, as far back as the 70s when Julian Jaynes proposed his idea of the bicameral mind, that ancient societies were not all that self-conscious to begin with. Rather, they relied on just these bursts of inspiration coming from the right hemisphere. Whenever they saw something that was particularly profound, such as a burning bush, they would hear these voices, these auditory hallucinations in the mind, which would drive forward some kind of progress, some spiritual revelation. Much later, in the early 2000s, they conducted experiments on the base side of the right hemisphere, which provoked out-of-body experiences in several Swiss subjects. So what we're going to do in our volunteer to begin with, and to kick off our little experiment of our own, is have a look just in their eyes at first. In their eyes at first. Just to see their pupils are accommodating correctly. Because what we're going to do is influence not by electricity, but by sheer energy, by sheer willpower, that supposedly vestigial part of the brain that will act as a sort of shortcut. If you just, thank you, a sort of shortcut into accessing that state of being, usually only achieved by yogis and those who have dedicated their lives to these meditative practices. You see, with mundane tasks, friends, only a few thousand little neurons fire at once. It's really not that much, but when in great states of meditation, all the concentration is focused on a single point. You're talking 100 billion, the full capacity of our little brains firing all at once. That is a very strong signal. A very strong signal. And these sorts of signals can be influenced by gravity. If you think about it, all those profound thoughts over the course of human history, and perhaps before, bent around our planet, bent around the sun, bent around all celestial bodies. What forms is a matrix we call universal consciousness of previously held ideas which can be tapped into if one can send a signal out, a strong and profound signal from here, from here, this side of the brain. Well, now I've checked your eyes, I'm just going to come in, I'm just going to put my hands on either side of your head, and I'm just going to provoke your third eye and your crown. And what I want you to do for me is one of those meditations found, one of those 112 meditations found in the Bhairava, which is only to observe the inhalation and the exhalation. Only observe it. Only observe it. Only observe it. The inhalation and the exhalation. And while you're doing that, shift your focus to a part of your body. I would prefer that you made it a digit, but you can choose anything, just as long as it's an easily isolated part of your body. So say, for example, your left ring finger. Bring all your attention to this finger. Lance it off. Lance it off with energy. Imagine a ring around it as cutting off the blood flow. As cutting off the blood flow. Imagine this finger perfectly void of anything. A phantom finger, if you like. But maintain all of your concentration on it. All of your concentration is gone. It's gone. But you can keep it there in your mind. Preserve the thought of it. Preserve the thought of it. I'm just going to stabilize your energy right now. Just keep that in your mind. That finger, that single point. We want to put you in a state of samadhi. And samadhi is more than just a mental state. It is a Soliton wave. A Soliton wave, which, if you don't know, is a wave similar, if you like, to throwing a pebble in a pool. You will see the ripples emanate out, emanate out, emanate out, branching off, spreading out, and eventually fading away. A soliton wave does not fade away, it continues over and over. With this firing of 100 billion neurons, you're creating a soliton wave that impacts higher dimensions. It leaves your body behind and joins in those unseen forces in the dark matter. In the dark matter. And then as you're sending out, you're also in a state of reception. It's rather like the internet in a way. You send out packets and you receive packets of information coming down and spreading into you. Coming down and spreading into you, but these are dependent on gravity. Just as it takes time for the Earth to orbit the Sun, it takes time for minds to enter certain waves left behind in this knowledge space where all things resolve. But you can receive small glimpses, just like that bicameral mind had its small glimpses into the profound. God is just remaining focused and quiet in a state of samadhi. Now, for those listening, I can confirm that our not so willing subject is still in a state of samadhi, really focusing on that missing finger, yes, and still sending out signals into the dark energy, into the knowledge space, and therefore also receiving packets of information. Now it should be noted that when one receives this information in packets, there is an energy differential that has to be accounted for coming down into these lower dimensions. It exudes an energy signature. Historically, this was defined as a certain aura about certain sages, leaders, artists, visionaries, prophets, and saints. And I just want to measure it now. And the person sitting before me, I just want to measure this energy signature. Going up and down their auric field, the etheric body. Good. Good. Just tracing around. Seeing where the spikes lie, where the depressions lie, if any. But all in all, is coming in a very wave-like motion. A constant wave-like motion. There are no irregularities. The mind has become a temple. Often the mistake is in meditation that the mind is stilled, that there is a cessation of activity. It's quite the opposite. It's everything, pure concentration firing at once. It makes a temple of the mind, a pure celestial temple, transmitting and receiving perfectly at one with the universal consciousness. Just reacting to the quartz here. Good. Quartz, of course, piezoelectric. It will react well to the electromagnetic field. Interesting. Very interesting. Good. And our little orgone pyramid, which is going to come in. This is a very stable structure. The Egyptians, of course, constructed them as a means of bending the dark energy, the universal consciousness around a single point, a singularity. In order to concentrate the soliton waves therein present, to make them more easily accessible to their gods, which would speak from that area of the brain on the far right. They knew it was their birthright, so why don't we? Society really degraded that far. But what is the ultimate goal here? That is what we have to ask ourselves. The ultimate goal that the universe is developing towards. Well, in Sankhya philosophy, they would say that Purusha, the god, and Prakriti cooperate, one feeding the other, to achieve what is translated often as satisfaction, and which in wider Indian philosophy can be interpreted even as joy, as fulfillment, as perfect at oneness of completion. Of course, completion does not make money. And so we are left with our mundane thoughts clouding our otherwise willing to be active minds. And of course, Sankhya also says the production of worlds will continue until the exhaustion of space takes place, and Purusha is finally satisfied. You could call this the heat death of the universe, until a new one perhaps is born of this very same dark energy, the idea of a new universe. For that is what this is. This energy, this thinking energy, can in time convert to matter. We are the stuff, literally, that dreams are made of. Now I'm going to bring our subject out of this state of samadhi and bring them down back into the lower dimensions. We're just going to cut. Transmission. Face me. Look up. Good. Wonderful. Wonderful work. Well, I think this has been a very fruitful exercise. I think we have all the energy readings that we need to confirm our theories. Thank you for your participation. It's been quite the show.